All team, give it everything you got.
It's time to fangirl flail with Fangirls Going Rogue.
Count me in.
Never get between a Mandalorian and a weapons package.
This is the way.
News, discussion, and commentary from the female point of view.
You call this a diplomatic solution?
No, I call it aggressive negotiations.
She's as important as he is.
With your hosts, Tricia Barr and Sarah Woloski.
Boy, am I glad to hear your voice.
Strap in, because this is where the fun begins.
I like the sound of that.
Welcome, Yup Cubs, to Fangirls Going Rogue. I am one of your hosts, Sarah Woloski from Skywalking Through Neverland. And with me, as always, is my friend in the Force. It's Tricia Barr from Fangirl Blog. Hey, Tricia.
Hey, hey.
So we have talked pretty recently, but I feel like a whole bunch of stuff has happened since we've talked last. So I feel like we need a little catch up with life.
For sure. I mean, last time we talked, it was in the preview of Maul Shadow Lord with the interviews with Sam Witwer and Devin and the crew and the creators and all that stuff. And now we're into the Mandalorian and Grogu time.
Mm-hmm.
And in the middle of all this, my boyfriend, Oscar Isaac, Poe Dameron, is doing an interview with Josh Horowitz and talking about the line, somehow Palpatine returned, was done in reshoots for The Rise of Skywalker.
That is crazy, because that's like the line heard round the world.
Somehow Palpatine returned.
It's like the meme. It's the meme of the movie, right?
Yeah.
Is that line?
I would say it's the meme of the sequel trilogy, really, right?
It could be, yeah.
But it's just gotten around so much. YouTube videos use it. So yeah, I love that he got to talk about it. How fun.
Yeah, Josh asked good questions. I love how Oscar says he did it with his best exasperation, because I think he didn't know what it really meant either, right, when he was recording it. So,
oh, that's so funny. Gosh, the irony of that, the irony. Yeah. So, and since we also recorded, very exciting things happened. So in our last recording, I was talking about how Richard and I were hosting the charity bash leading up to the Mandalorian and Grogu. And so we did host that, and it was a huge success. This was at Scum and Villainy Cantina with liningup.net, and with raffle tickets, trivia games that Richard and I ran. There was a silent auction, and there was special proceeds from a Mandalorian drink, which you could have warm or you could have cold. You could, which meant basically if you had your Mandalorian warm, it was spicy, and if it was cold, it was not spicy. So that proceeds from that drink, Scum and Villainy donated $10 from each of those drinks, and 86 were ordered during those hours. So
wow,
I know that was insane. So we raised a total of $3,565 for Starlight Children's Foundation. We blew past our goal of $2,500, and it was a really exciting night. It was so great. Honestly, it was addicting. Like, I can't wait to do something like that again, and also help kids in need. Like, it was great. So we will be raising money again May 19th through 21st in the forecourt of the TCL Chinese Theater IMAX, leading into the Mandalorian and Grogu, which we're going to see the 5:15 p.m. screening. Do you have your tickets, Tricia?
I do have tickets.
What are you going to do?
Multiple options. I don't know. I have tickets in here at home. I have tickets at Orlando. I don't know. I just buy tickets because I don't know. Maybe you want to be at Disney and do it. I don't know. So I have lots of options. That's a great thing about Fandango. You can just put the money back into your account.
Oh, okay.
Give them up, and I'm going to go to a movie. So
right
again. So.
Right. Okay, I didn't know. So you could buy tickets, but then refund it, or
yeah, you just say I don't want the tickets, and then you can get your money back, but there's a fee. So, or you can just put it into your
Okay.
Next time will
Next time.
get me.
Of course.
Sometimes I'm like, oh, look, I have money in Fandango. This movie's free, but it's not really. That's girl math.
Yes. It is girl math. It's like, oh, there you go. I'll see Project Hail Mary again or something. I like that. That's awesome.
Exactly. But we're not going to talk too much about Maul Shadowlord this episode because it really is focused on the Mandalorian and Grogu, but it is happening right now. And we are going to talk about it in the next episode. We do have a plan. It's a surprise, but we do have a plan. We're talking about the entire season after it airs. But I wanted to just maybe share a couple things that we were really excited because we couldn't talk about anything. Like, we're trying not to spoil it as we're doing this discussion the last time. And but now that 5 and 6 are out, I just want to talk about that train fight sequence with Devin and Riley escaping and fleeing Maul, and just how, like, now you can see like how incredible, because we were trying to say, right, that the fights were going to be really amazing, and now everybody can see it.
Yes, everybody can see it. Everybody's excited about it. I love this painterly animation where you have the lightsaber swinging around and it's got that like swash of paint almost behind the lightsaber swing. It's like, whoa, that looks so cool. And then I feel like the characterizations they're doing in these episodes are great. Like, it's not just the fight scenes that are great animation, but it's the little things. Like, Devin is sitting in Riley's room, right? She goes and sits on the bed, and the animators animate Riley like a true teenage boy who's like, oh my God, there's a girl sitting in my bedroom. And his hands are like, they don't know what to do. They're all fidgety. He's like reaching for something and then stops, and then he like touches his hair or his face, and he can't, like, it's obvious that he is just very flustered just from the animation itself. And then go ahead.
There's also a great dynamic too, where I think he's like the jock, right? We get that impression from what we see. And then he realizes like she's way more of a badass than he is. Just because she's a Jedi. But there's like just this great way that they sort of capture it in how he looks, and is sort of like, whoa, okay.
Yeah, the animators, I mean, it's just incredible. And then I also like the little character moments too. Like, Lawson is probably my favorite character. He's the character I am most interested in, and most interested in his story. And he and Two Boots have this interesting relationship, this working relationship, but at the same time, Two Boots being a droid, like, he relates to Lawson by bringing him coffee. And so in episode 5, when Two Boots has called in the Empire and things are going to bad places, right? Because Two Boots called in the Empire. Well, he almost to make amends, he like brings up coffee to Lawson, and then the camera pulls back and you see that there's like 10 coffee cups on Lawson's desk. Find that hilarious. It's like either indicative of they're too busy and they can't clean up, or Two Boots has brought that many coffee cups because he's trying to make amends. I don't know. It was just a fun little character moment that if you weren't paying attention, if you're like on your phone and half watching it, you won't notice that. But it's those little things that you really should pay attention to.
Yeah, I mean, just in his name, Two Boots, it's that, he wears these boots that, what does a droid need boots for? Other than, I think he's trying to be he's trying to relate to the humans in a way, right? The coffee, the wearing the boots, type of, it's an interesting way of showing that there's something about this droid that wants to be like a human, which is very, very much a droid thing in Star Wars, right? They're this close, right?
Yeah. I find it interesting in Star Wars how droids, they're not human, and yet they have emotions, and there's not a discussion about that. Like in Star Trek, Data, the whole thing, he doesn't have emotions, so much so that they gave him an emotion chip in one of the movies. So it's in Star Wars, it's just droids have emotions, it's fine. I hand wave that.
So I do hope that when Celebration hits next year, that we're going to get maybe the announcement for a season 2. We know there's going to be a season 2, but what maybe that they're already working on it and that we're going to see another trailer. But it is now the time to gear up if you want to be in the room to see that happen for your Celebration tickets, which go on sale May 6th. Thank you for not being on May 4th, because I mean, man, if you were like going to go shopping on May 4th and then you realize you also had to hit up those credit cards for the Celebration tickets, it'd be kind of a shock. So they gave you 2 days to recover.
Yeah, thank God. It's Revenge of the 6th, right?
Yes.
That we have to buy our tickets. Yeah, and that's, of course, happening April 1st through 4th, 2027 in Los Angeles. So 50th anniversary year of Star Wars, A New Hope. Very exciting. Very exciting. But before that, Tricia, in fact, April 29th of this year, Disneyland shifts its timeline and Batuu becomes back to the original trilogy times, somewhere maybe Return of the Jedi-ish, right? Is that what we're guessing?
Somewhere around there. I mean, we've got, but they rescue Han. I think it has to be after.
I think so too.
I don't know. I'm so confused.
I think it's, at this point, it's like, Han and Leia are coming. And
don't sweat it too much.
Exactly.
Yeah.
They're on Batuu. You can interact with them. And we saw some images, Disney social media has been sharing images of the characters, which, wow, people are mean online. I really hate people's comments. I don't know. Have you seen this? Like, Variety posted a freaking article about Han Solo.
I mean, that just shows you how trash Variety is now.
Yeah.
It used to be like, industry standard on reporting, and we're just going to report on how people react to, and typically you're going to see the people who like it are just going to like hit like, and the people who want to just be negative will have to voice their opinion on it.
Exactly.
And so, you know what? Nobody's going to be Mark Hamill. Nobody's going to be Harrison Ford. No one's going to be Carrie Fisher in, her prime during the original trilogy. But it's more about the experience and the character, like the character, right? So I'm sure that the people they picked, there were a lot of people who auditioned. I'm sure they're going to be fabulous. The guy who did Luke Skywalker last year was amazing, and I'm excited.
Me too. And honestly, it is really cool to walk around Batuu and just have these character interactions. In fact, just last week, I was dressed in my Ahsoka gear. I had my Ahsoka ears. I had my Ahsoka rock love necklace. I had like a Her Universe Ahsoka dress on. Everything was Ahsoka. I had my Ahsoka backpack, right? And so I'm just sitting. Richard went off to take pictures of something, and I'm like just on my phone kind of trying to create a little video for something, to post, to create content, right? And all of a sudden I hear a voice and I look up and Ahsoka's right there and she's talking to me. And so she came up to me like I didn't have to seek her out at all. But she obviously, she was like, "You look like a citizen who knows their way around the place." I thought that was really cute. And then she started to complaining to me about all these kids getting all these chopper type droids, and wow, I don't know about that. And have you seen R2? So it was very fun interaction. I was like, oh wow. So there you go. Like, how awesome would it be to be sitting there and all of a sudden Princess Leia taps you on the shoulder? Like, where else can that happen?
I know. Or Boba Fett there also at Disneyland. I was there a couple weeks ago, and Boba Fett kept running into these guys with Boba Fett shirts on, and he just kept like, "Oh, another fan," and interacting with them. So it was kind of cool it's kind of cool to see how they keep it in character. Same thing, getting to run into the Mandalorian and Grogu when you get a little bit of the puppet, the cute little baby.
I wonder if they'll change his outfit up to be Grogu on his shoulder once the movie comes out.
I believe so, because I think we'll get into that, but that's what I got to interact with in the past
and that's what
week,
we saw at WrestleMania
Yes.
I don't know.
Yes.
Did you see that? Yeah.
Yeah.
Like,
you know
oh.
what? I have to say, though, meet the people where they are. And if you want to get awareness up to a general audience and something like that, and I think it actually will tie into the movie a little bit with what we know with Rada being in this sort of fight club thing, that it probably works. People be like,
sense.
oh. Right?
Yeah.
I mean, like, this movie, you might like it because we're going to have like our own little WrestleMania in the movie itself.
I mean, they're definitely teasing that in the trailers. So, yeah.
Yeah.
So I have my reservations for April 29th with the timeline shift for Disneyland. And then May 4th, of course. I've got reservations as well. So we're going to check out all the merchandise.
I think they're going to have the Hyperspace Mountain again back, right?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
So all the fun things.
All the fun things. They're going to have, of course, new popcorn buckets, novelty items, including a sail barge, which is a popcorn bucket. I don't know how big it is, but it looks cool. And that's kind of the one we have our eye on, is a big sail barge. The bantha looks cute, but it's a sipper, which means it's tiny. I'm just warning you in advance, because there was a Jawa sipper like a couple years ago. We're like, oh, that looks awesome. And we get to it. It's like $30 and it's tiny. It's literally like 7 inches or something. I was like, okay, no, we didn't get it because it was just too small. So with the bantha being a sipper, I think it's going to be smaller than you think. Just FYI.
Darn it.
I know. But there are some really cool items that you can get right now at DisneyStore.com, including an Endor collection. What do you think of this?
I told you it was going to be Endor.
Yes, you did.
Said last year when we had Hoth that it had to be Endor this time, and I was right. So,
yes, because the year before it was Tatooine.
Yeah,
and then we got Hoth.
That's the bag I've used for like a year. That Star Wars Tatooine bag. I get so many compliments on it. To me, it's like really understated. Like you can barely tell that it's a Star Wars bag, but I get so many compliments on that bag. So my Hoth one is now in the wings to get used, but way more excited than I thought I would be about Endor, because there are Ewoks on the ears and on the bag itself.
Yes.
So I mean,
it looks so cute.
Girls going rogue.
Yeah.
Yub Cubs.
Yeah. Those ears are cute. The Loungefly bag. And then I really like the baseball jersey. In our Southern California weather, the baseball jerseys are really nice and breezy. And they've got this beautiful forest green baseball jersey with Endor on it. It looks cute. But there's also a really other cool baseball jersey that I've already seen in the parks. It's bright orange Rebels jersey. It says like Rebel on it, and it's got that white and orange like you're a Rebel pilot. And I'm like, oh man, that's pretty cool too. So I don't know, Tricia, I only have a certain amount of budget. I don't know what I'm gonna do.
That'll be a game time call, right?
Yes, it will be. Because my friends have all bought like all the Endor collection stuff online, and I'm like, I have to see it. I have to see it in person. That's just how I am.
Oh, I know I'll get the Endor collection. I just want to use my Disney annual pass discount.
Oh, yeah.
We don't get that in the shop Disney.
No.
So.
Yeah, you got to wait. Okay.
Yeah. And also now we know on May the 4th that Fandango is running with IMAX that you can preview 25 minutes of The Mandalorian and Grogu. If
on
people
May
want
4th.
to do that. I'm just gonna put it out there. If you signed up for it, please know that they accept more people for these type of things than they have seats.
Yes.
And it's first come, first serve. And it says that when you get the email to accept it. So if you're going to plan on going, don't plan on showing up at 2:15 for a 2:30 screening or whatever it is. Plan on showing up an hour or two before. So like when they did this with Ahsoka, there were a lot of people who didn't get in. So I'm just telling people that if you want to do this, you need to plan on getting there way earlier than your screening time.
I did sign up in 2 different places in LA because I'm not sure where we're going to be, but I don't know if, because you're right, it's the time commitment, because I know you have to be there at least an hour early, and we kind of want to go to Disneyland and soak up that atmosphere. So I don't know. Do you think it's worth it?
I'm going to say that I've seen most of what that footage is.
Right.
And I don't know if you're a fan of the movie. I don't know it's going to change your mind about going. If you just want to see the footage and have the experience and you feel like you need to see it, then certainly go. But I don't know that it's like the end all be all. If you're excited about the movie, it's going to be here soon enough. So,
right. Okay.
You know,
that also might be a game day decision.
Exactly. But will not be a game day decision is that Maul Shadow Lord finale, which we haven't seen either. We saw through episode 8. We haven't seen it either. Will be out on May the 4th. So that will be my morning time thing to do.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. In fact, maybe a midnight thing the night before for us.
Yeah, that's true. What is it? Midnight? It's 3
it's
or
midnight.
something.
Yeah, it's 3 a.m. for you. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
So morning time for you. You get up early. It's fine.
Yeah. Well, you know what I do is I get up early and don't look at my phone.
Yes.
And watch it. Yeah.
There you go. I think that would be perfect for you. I can't wait. Knowing what comes next week. We've seen 7 and 8.
Well, and that was teased by the creators, right, in their interviews, is that there were 2 people, Matt Mitchvitz and I can't remember, Athena.
Brad
I think
Rao
said,
or Athena. Okay.
I think the 2 guys and Brad said that the episode 9 and 10 were their finales, were their favorite, and Athena said that the episode 8, which people will see next Monday, would be their favorite.
Okay. I do have to say that there's some cool locations coming up that I can't wait for people to react to.
And then we could talk about it in whole.
Yes, we will. And we might have to invite another friend on. We'll see. That's our tease. Okay. So let's get into our main topic of this episode, which is the Mandalorian and Grogu, because Tricia, you were in LA at a special event for Mandalorian and Grogu. So please take us through your incredible day.
Yeah, I don't. Sometimes I'm like still like pinch me type of moment to get invited to go to my understanding is there were 2 groups and then some different individuals that got to go in to the same prop and set event. But when we first got there, we got taken to the IMAX headquarters, and Jon Favreau came out and introduced that we were going to see, we were the first people, because we were the first group, that we were the first people outside of his movie people who were going to see this footage. And it's the same thing that aired at CinemaCon. So we were like a week before that happened. And so, you know, he was kind of nervous and excited, and it was an IMAX screen. And so we got to that's how our day started, was seeing the footage.
Nice. And how long was it?
We were guessing like 15 minutes. He told us it was 18 minutes.
Okay.
But I mean, I think it was 15 minutes of footage that was straight from the beginning. It's the beginning of the movie through the opening credits through into a certain scene, and then we saw essentially, I think, the final trailer plus maybe a couple little more shots that I haven't seen come up in ads that just kind of gave you a vibe of more of big battles and movie. It felt like Star Wars movie battles, right, as opposed to TV battles.
Okay, yeah. So give us some impressions on this footage without, like, I mean, I don't care about spoilers, but maybe for our listeners, not as many like spoilers.
Well, and you can, so since CinemaCon came out, you could definitely find, if you want a like really detailed recap, they're out there. So if you want a really detailed recap, I'm just here to kind of say like of the vibe. So a lot of what we saw that you've seen in trailers, a lot of it is in this first opening 15 minutes.
Okay.
Starts on a snow planet. So if you've seen the trailers, you'll kind of get a feel of what those are. But we don't have, it doesn't have a like the crawl like we traditionally have. This is more kind of like, I'm thinking of the Superman movie where you kind of get a paragraph and then you get another paragraph, but the same idea as a crawl. It's like setting the
scene like Maul Shadow Lord did not do. Got it.
Exactly. But we have like New Republic in big bold letters, you know, like they do, like in the script.
Ahsoka did that. Like it would call out the major players that you need to be looking for.
Exactly. And so it mentions Imperial warlords. It mentions that Din Djarin is helping the New Republic hunt down the Imperial warlords. So you kind of get the setting. And to me, it felt very much like if you read the EU after Return of the Jedi, you sort of got the vibe, right?
Oh.
And if
like the Imperial warlords are like kind of warring, trying to okay, soak up as many
they're not
factions.
united, but they're
Right.
definitely making trouble for
Yes.
the New Republic.
Okay, and that's totally what the EU is like all about at the beginning.
Yeah. So to me, it felt very comfortable. And I think, you know, in the way that we went into Star Wars and didn't know what the heck was happening, it's meant to be that way, that you don't need to know anything, that it's just setting the scene in media res, as what Star Wars does, right? It's supposed to just drop you an adventure and you kind of figure it out. And I feel like the first 15 minutes are there to sort of set the tone of, you don't need to remember the Mandalorian seasons 1 through 3, and even you don't even need to go back and watch, like, say, season 3. It's just like, this is who Din is, and you know, he's a badass bounty hunter, and this is his kid, and he's got some force skills, and they set that up really quickly. So if you know nothing, that's fine too. You know, one of the surprises was that Zeb shows up to when they finish the mission. So Zeb is in there, and it feels like he's an ally and more than just an acquaintance at this point. Like, he knows them.
Wow.
Yeah. And then we go straight to Zeb takes him to Adelphi Base, which we've seen in the Mandalorian season 3, and that's where the New Republic is, and that's where we see Zeb in season 3 as well.
Right.
And that's where we find out how he gets the Razor Crest, because we see him flying the Razor Crest in the trailer. You know, Colonel Ward gives it to him in payment, and then sort of payment in advance of other things to come.
Oh,
so,
but
fun. I think the coolest thing to seeing the footage is the difference between, we knew the volume sort of limited, right?
Yes.
If you see Adelphi Base or you see locations, like Adelphi Base is in a real location, like it feels, especially in the IMAX, because you get this, like, you could see the beach and the palm trees and the Quonset hut that they're in, and all that stuff. So it feels way more like a movie. As opposed to sometimes the Mandalorian would feel a little bit like it was on TV.
Okay, got it. That's exciting. Wow.
Yeah. And then after that, we left and we got put on a bus and we got taken to the prop and set tour, which I think is the thing that for me was really exciting. And you know, I've done like museum tours, and I've for, you know, journalistically, I went for like Star Wars Insider to go cover the museum tours for Star Wars costumes that in 2 different times. And then we had I wouldn't call it a museum, but the exhibit at Celebration.
Yes.
Anaheim.
Celebration Anaheim in 2022, where that whole like east wing of the convention center was dedicated to all the props being set up, and you like, we saw Jon Favreau out there as well.
Yeah. You know, and that was his idea right back then, to set all those, which was kind of amazing to be able to see them. That was one of my favorite things at Celebration. So this was very much, to me, my impression of Jon Favreau that this is like his thing. He likes to share these things, but unlike the museum exhibits, these are all like working props, things that they still may use, that they're keeping, and they're just kind of stored. Like, all the droids are over here, all the maquettes are over here. Some of them might be displayed a little bit more like organized just because of space. Like, maquettes are going to fit here. Randomly, there's the armors. I want to say her workshop. So
yes,
we know that the armor, like, they moved around, and so like all her tools have like this dresser. And when we horse show, we have like these lockers that we can get up and move, and that's the best way I could describe it. It's like her locker with all her tools, and they're all labeled.
Wow.
And I will be sharing pictures of those. Like, I've been slowly like trying to put out on social media all these different things, but it's just like kind of crazy.
That's
But
awesome.
where we started was actually on a set in this warehouse, and it was the Adelphi Base pilot bar.
I saw that was like a whole set that was there. So that's where they shot. They actually shot.
That's where they shot it.
there.
Yeah, in
Yeah.
LA. Yeah, this location is in LA. And so when you see in the trailer, and obviously be in the movie, but when you see in the trailer, anytime that Colonel Ward is talking to Din and Grogu, I think when he tries to sneak the snacks, and she slaps it down, like, we were able to sit at that table and we were able to go to the bar and drink. They gave us drinks, like there were drinks. They had spatchka and the Outer Rim, and one was a gin drink, that was a spatchka, and the Outer Rim was a tequila drink.
Ooh, nice. So was that your favorite, Outer Rim?
Yeah, it was really strong though. So I was like, I don't know how much of this
Outer Rim I can taste. It's too outer for me.
Exactly. But wow. Yeah, I mean there's tons of, so it's really kind of, there's like I would say it's not like a pool, it's sort of like a pool table that kind of looks like a pool / backgammon table to me, that they have set up in there, and then all these other light tables, and then there's the bar, and then on the top of the bar are all these like Imperial helmets,
right,
and an Imperial spy droid like right on the top of the bar. It's like all their things that they've conquered are just kind of like trophies around this bar. Like, yeah, we got that stormtrooper, we got that stormtrooper.
Now, the drinks that you were served, were they in like fancy cups that possibly you've seen on screen?
They weren't super fancy, but they were like real glasses, so I think they were part of the props. Like, everything in that bar could have been for real. You could have sat down and filmed.
Nice.
Then.
And how big was your group that you're going in with?
18 people.
Okay.
Plus some Disney handlers,
right.
kind of, different people that were like, oh, this is this room. And in that room, production designer Andrew Jones, who also worked on Ahsoka, Mandalorian, Book of Boba Fett, and is also Jungle Book with Favreau, was in there and available to talk to people.
Oh, nice. Did you speak with him?
I did speak with him, and I will, it was one of those things where it was kind of a little chaotic trying to get up to him and get the microphone. So it wasn't like a thing where I felt like I could just produce that audio. So I feel like something more that I could write an article from what he said. Then I was like, you don't want to hear like the jostling.
Right. And it's hard. And you were by yourself. Is that correct? So
yeah,
that's also harder.
Everybody trying to talk to him at once and trying to get their microphones in there is one of those things where you're like, I don't know how this is going to work. It actually would have been nice if we could have just had them like
a Q&A
and everybody be quiet and ask him questions.
Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah, they should have done a little round table with him.
Yeah, but it was cool to kind of be able to just ask him, anecdotally, like look at that, like this and that, and where did you get this, and where did you get the idea? And obviously very talented. He's been working on everything that Favreau's done. Kind of feel like there's the Favreau verse of Star Wars now.
Yeah, I mean, it was awesome to speak with the production designers and the costume designer for Andor. I mean, that would be great if they opened them up for opportunities for roundtables for that.
Absolutely.
But we'll see.
And in that room, we also got to see the BDX droids, which I think we got to see them at Disneyland, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And then also the Mandalorian with the Grogu puppet, which you saw at WrestleMania on his shoulder, with the puppet working.
Yeah.
So it was like pretty intricate, and it was like, oh, okay, like, so he came out and would come out with the Grogu, and of course nobody wanted to talk to the Mandalorian, everybody just wanted to talk to Grogu.
So how is it like attached like with a bag, or how is it attached on his shoulder?
Well, I mean, it looks like he's like holding on, and that's just how he rides around now, as opposed to in the bag that,
right.
It's little bit more like action oriented. I noticed too in the recent, there's been some different shot. I don't want to say they're not even trailers, commercials.
Yes.
Like, coming out that a lot of times when he's walking, the way they have him set, if he's walking a certain way, you can't see him, but then he turns and then you can see Grogu. So he's definitely set up there for that visual.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
he's there. And then we went from the set room into the prop warehouse and got introduced by prop master Josh Roth, who's worked on all the shows with Favreau. And he's also working on the Oswald the Lucky Rabbit series that's been filming in Disneyland.
Yeah, we saw
Catherine Hahn, right?
Yeah, we saw them both. We saw them film them walking into the magic shop on Main Street and then out. They
Cool.
were just, and then we saw all the people who were cast as extras just making a loop around the whole shot on the outside. So they were just walking.
Oh, that's funny.
They're like street atmosphere. Yeah. It was like, oh, okay. Interesting. And I did that a couple times and like, all right, that's all we can see. Cause then they were shooting inside the shop.
Yeah, so Josh Roth, he also puppeteered Chopper on Ahsoka.
Okay.
So he's a prop master and he also is a puppeteer. So I guess they consider them props as well. But there was all sorts of things like the hit cards that Colonel Barr hands that we see that are like supposed to be, these are the Imperial warlords we need to get.
Instead of the pucks, they're just the cards.
Yeah. And the Stinky maquette, which I've shared a picture of. So if you don't know, Stinky is Rada from the Clone Wars movie, which, some people either love it or you hate it. The original animated movie where Anakin and Ahsoka rescue Stinky Rada the Hutt, who's Jabba's son. And so there is a Stinky maquette who's the cutest little thing. And I'm guessing there's going to be some type of flashback or something. There has to be if we got a Stinky maquette.
I would hope so. That would be fun.
Yeah. And then there were just like costumes everywhere. Snowtroopers, Bo-Katan, Mando, Boba Fett,
Wow.
different versions of Mando. There were heads of many, many beasts, including like the Nexu, Tauntaun. You could walk like right up to them. There was Jabba's head, really weird too, because when you walked around him it looked like his eyeballs followed you.
Whoa. Now question on the Tauntaun, were these regular Tauntauns or like the big-headed Tauntauns like the trailer for the Super Bowl?
No, I think these were like regular Tauntauns. And everybody seemed to want to go up and say, hey fella, you kind of stink, but that seemed a thing.
They didn't do that to Stinky?
No. And randomly, Max Rebo was up on a shelf, and no one noticed him until like the end. If you might have seen a picture of me on our social media, there's a bird puppet that I was fascinated by, that I did see in the trailer. He's in a shot, so I do know he's from the movie. There were like, I don't know, 10 million droids, including Captain Rex, R5, the mouse droid that you see in the trailer that Grogu, I think, busts apart with the Force. And Frog Lady was there.
Nice.
Who I have a love-hate relationship with just because of her role in this story.
Yeah.
Neil, Kim, who's the owl from Skeleton Crew.
I saw some video from Star Wars Explained. I was like, oh, it's Kim. So cute. Yeah.
Very cute. The model of the Razor Crest that they actually used to use the Dykstra setup to film the model for the movie, and then various versions of Grogu's pram, the armor's helmet. There were lots of helmets, but that was the one that I wanted to go up and look at. Then really cool, we all got to go inside the Razor Crest cockpit.
Wow.
I do have footage of that, which I will share. It was kind of cool. What do they say?
Yeah.
Don't worry, the chair squeaks, we know. Like, because I guess people were freaking out.
What am I doing? Okay, was the silver ball in there, or had
no? It was not in there.
Okay.
No, it was not. Everybody looked for it. So, and
I did. Thinking of that, I did see a small TV spot trailer for Mandalorian and Grogu, where Mandalorian is trying to tell Grogu's in the cockpit. and Mandalorian over a comm is trying to tell him what button to press to do something, and and Grogu keeps pressing the wrong thing and shooting at them.
Yeah, that was the Jimmy Kimmel footage that
Okay.
interview. They showed the footage of it, which gives you a little bit more of an idea that Zeb will be more in the, like he's in the action.
Right. Yeah, I thought that was cute. Grogu pushing buttons. Richard was all excited about that. He shared it.
It is very cute. And then one other thing, it was actually in a little bit of, there was a different room, a side room that had some set pieces, prop pieces from where we see Martin Scorsese's Ardinian shopkeeper. It's like his food truck or whatever that Din walks up to. And then there's other pieces of props. And apparently that planet's some type of rainy planet. So everything that you see, like the way his shop is set up is like, so you could get undercover. And there's a bunch of other, there's a lot of neon lights in that room.
Ooh.
So
were they on?
Yeah.
Were they on for you?
They were on. They
Nice.
were all on, and the room was a little darkened. So that was kind of like, oh, I recognize that from the trailer. So yeah.
Cool.
And then one of the cool things was the Anzellan ship that you see in the final trailer. It's the ship is in the room. There's also the N1 fighters in there without the engines, but the Anzellan ship that's what they filmed in. You could see in there, they had it set up with the little Anzellan back in there. You could like film it. There was a little Anzellan, and then Grogu is literally as high as like their door. He's just tall enough. And now I like realize why the Anzellans are perfect for this movie is because you need to find a way for Grogu to be in the real world and be relatable and not looking up and being sort of in his element. And so they fit, right? He just goes in that ship and they're tiny with him.
Yeah. Horrible baby. Bad baby.
That may be the meme. That may be the meme from this movie.
Yeah.
Oh, the horrible baby. The bad baby.
So funny. Oh my God. But I can't. So it wasn't like a little dollhouse almost? The ship?
That's kind of what it felt like. Yeah. But I mean, it's not a very, it maybe in length is maybe the length of a golf cart to like give you perspective on that, you know, it shrunk down. But if you just went in with your camera and you were just like filming it, it looked like, oh, I'm in a real set. Like everything had detail and
wow. I heard that even the screens of that, like in the cockpit of that ship, are like little Apple Watch screens to make them, you know, be the right size. So yeah, wow,
little teeny.
Yeah, that's so cool. And okay, I was trying to think, were the Anzellans created for Rise of Skywalker or the Mandalorian? They were the Rise of Skywalker.
Yeah,
okay.
And that was something that he brought out of the sequel trilogies. I mean, they're cute. Everybody really liked, you know, the Anzellan creature, and I'm kind of think I figured out what they're supposed to do in this story. So we'll see if I'm right. But you know, I think they're like little fixers and
aren't they shipbuilders? Like, didn't an Anzellan create the Halcyon Galactic Star Cruiser?
I think they're going to come in and help fix up the new Razor Crest to get it kind of the way. That's what that's my guess. I haven't seen anything that confirmed that. So, but to me, it seems like it makes sense structurally in the story for that's why they would be involved with. And we know that they're on Navarro, which is where they're living. Right. Because they were in that season 3, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
they had a little pod. Yeah. Where they also interacted with the Grogu. Bad baby. Okay. All right.
Bad baby.
So that can't be it, Tricia. What else did you get to experience?
Well, we did. Jon Favreau did come into the prop room and actually speak to us. And Disney was nice enough to record what he said. And I feel like if we shared the whole interview, it wouldn't really work because some of the stuff he's like pointing at things and telling us. And if you were to just listen to the whole interview, you would be like, well, I have no context. So we're going to pull clips from the interview and just share a few things. But what I do want people to note is just clearly how excited he is to finally be sharing things, even if they're just props with people.
Any questions? There's a lot of cool things here. There's the Razor Crest cockpit that we've had since the beginning, and the N1, which we had to take the engines off of to fit in here. Boba Fett's throne. And there's cool stuff in the corner I want to make sure you don't miss. These are models that we actually filmed with. That's a piece of John Knoll's version of the Dijkstraflex, a motion control miniature rig. That little half moon that has the Razor Crest on it. That was originally built as a lighting reference, and we started to say, could we try to do a shot or two for the first seasons of the show, and then we started to like it. For the film, we had more time, and we had the know-how, and we had John Goodson actually build us a larger Razor Crest there that was used in the footage that you saw. Wow. So actually we're using the models like they would have in the old days. Now, if you're like me and a film geek, that's cool. Hopefully for other audiences, they don't even notice what that is. Also, when you walked in, there were stop motion models. That was from Tippett. Those were really used in this. So we had years instead of a year. So we were able to do all the stuff that we've always hoped we could and do it to a level for a new audience who might not care about that stuff and they just want to see a fun movie where it doesn't bump. But if you're a Star Wars fan and like that kind of stuff, there's a lot of care that's gone into it in just the way things were executed and the level of quality and artistry that people have put into it. And also having worked with these people for so long to get the opportunity to make a movie, we're like, okay, what are the things we never could do before?
I mean, you can tell his excitement from his voice. It was really cool to hear that. And I love that he's mentioning, the people he works with, giving him credit. John Goodson in particular, we've had him on Skywalking Through Neverland talking about building props and designing things for the TV series. So looks like we'll need to tap him again to talk about the film. I'm excited about that.
Yeah, you're like, ooh, I know that guy, right?
Yeah.
It seems like to me, Jon Favreau is just really good at collaborating.
Yeah.
He doesn't just want to tell a story. He wants people to be invested in it and to work with other people. That kind of seems like where he wants to be creatively.
Where he thrives, I suppose.
It's been almost 7 years since there's been Star Wars in the movie theater. There's a lot of people who weren't even old enough to see Star Wars in the movie theater last time. And I remember it's changed my life when I saw it and everything that I'm doing now. Not just because I'm making Star Wars stuff, but everything that Lucas's film was such a gateway to so many other things for me. Cinema, Japanese cinema, Westerns, old movies. Him and Steven with the cliffhangers, with Raiders. It just opened me up to how the boomer generation, sort of what their influences were, and then they were introducing it out in Gen X, and they would do really high quality versions of those things that they grew up with. And just the understanding, we think of it like it's quaint that we're doing miniatures. At the time, it was cutting edge tech.
When he got to this point, I looked around and realized, as he said Gen X, or being a Gen X fan, that I was the only other Gen X person in the room at that moment. I felt very old.
You're not old. Come on.
But it just kind of goes to show how maybe fandom has changed, and the people that are covering the content aren't necessarily so nobody in that room except for Jon Favreau and myself at that point when he was talking had actually seen Star Wars when it first aired, when there wasn't Star Wars, right? So yeah. He made note that he was an usher in the movie theater.
Wow.
But yeah, it's way different, right? Just where we are. And that's good because it's moving on generationally but he's making it for himself as a Gen Xer, but also acknowledging that there's other people that he has to make this for.
Pushing the limit on technology and storytelling and finding that thing where you can, but it was all about human artistry too, and how we match up those two things. And that's been a conversation in cinema since the beginning. It's been about tech and storytelling and finding out what also feels like it's, how should I say it? It feels authentically Star Wars. And that's not something you could look up in a book. It's something where I show it to Dave Filoni, and we show it to Doug Chang draws something, and then you talk to John Knoll, and what did George, because I'm working, a lot of people work with George, John Knoll, Dave Chang, Filoni. Oh, what did he? Well, he always thought this, but I think it's this, and that, But so it becomes a thing where we're almost voting on it. Like, does this look right? And trying to use techniques of kit bashing other things, trying to draw inspiration from other drawings that were never made, like So looking at designs, even Zeb came from early designs for Chewbacca, and so that was something that was used in the animated show, and layering, almost like layering flavors. Things that we're drawing from all different Star Wars so that we can make a story as you've seen footage. Hopefully that's a new adventure that people could feel like I felt when I was I didn't know I was being dropped into the middle of the story when I saw the first Star Wars. It was, the ships were going over my head, I couldn't believe it, and I was able to enjoy it, and it was part of a bigger thing. And could we, because movies are, you might say, oh, come with me to see this. You can't count on everybody having seen everything. So you want to make it an adventure and a story that they understand and it draws them in. But also people like me who've been in this since the beginning, how do you layer stuff in? How do you have things in there that reward the people who've been there from the beginning, whether it's in designs, execution, story points, characters, archetypes. So that's what we've been playing with. But it was exciting today, by the way, just to see it with people we've been in here. And you got to see the other hut where we did all this stuff. So it's real. We really tried to give it preserve that handmade kit bash feel, and that's how everything we do is.
So in every interview that I've heard with Jon Favreau lately, he is talking about something that, creating things that acknowledges your fans that have been there since the beginning, but also bringing in the new people. Apropos of you talking about being the only Gen Xer in the room and how there's a lot of new, younger generation. It's like you really need to bring those people along. There's a reason that we have that Disney focuses on these, preschool series, right? And now, let's see, Lucasfilm has out Young Jedi Adventures. That's for the preschool set. You're trying to get them young so that when that nostalgia bug starts getting you, then they're gonna spend the money on that stuff that reminds them about their nostalgia. But I do have to say, I do like the approach of putting you into the story in media res, because there's really something about creating a world that feels lived in, that brings you in, because you want to know more about that story. You want to know why there's a blaster bolt there. You want to know why everything looks scuffed. It's like you're dropped in the middle of the story and you get to explore more. Now, with Star Wars, it's a little hard to remember that feeling because it's been so long. However, I have a little nugget I want to share. So this is a little off topic, but it makes sense. I'll roll it back around. So FanFest nights at Universal Studios, they are going to have Universal Monsters and Scooby-Doo and Harry Potter, but they're also having One Piece. And I'm like, what is this One Piece? Apparently it's anime. It's been around since 1999, at least in an anime form. But I just discovered that 2 years ago, Netflix started a One Piece live action series. So Richard and I just started watching it this week, and it has pulled us in. It has that same feel, this in media res. It drops you into the world. It introduces you to these characters. The costumes are fun. The camera angles are fun. It's almost like Batman 89 has been revamped for today's world, and it's about pirates. It's like pirates, and it's fun. So we're totally in, and now I can't wait to go to FanFest nights and experience some One Piece stuff as well as all the other things. So it's one of those, I can see why people like it and we're drawn into it the same way that people are drawn into Star Wars.
Yeah, and similarly, just talking about Maul Shadow Lord, they were able to sort of kind of create that vibe because they went to a planet that we didn't know. So you're sucked back into, because you want to learn about Detective Lawson, or and his son, and what's up with his wife in the Empire type thing. So it's not that you can't do that in Star Wars, right? That you can't suck people in to, again, a new story. And I think that's what Jon, at least the point he's trying to make.
it looks like it's a good start to the year and the summer with films that are connecting with audiences, which, everybody's like questioning whether with all these so much competing for your attention, if movies are going to be relevant to each generation. And I start off as an usher and doing background work and all. So I'm excited that I got the opportunity to do this, but also that it looks like the younger generation starting to see that if with the right type of story and the right moment, there's a reason to come together and do that. So I find it, Star Wars aside, myself aside, that it's a encouraging moment now, and I think we have a lot of filmmakers this year that are going to be putting some interesting stuff on the screen. I'm excited to see. So it's going to be an interesting year, and all of your love of film and this, stories, and it's all we're all part of the same, part of the same ecosystem, the same team, because we just want to celebrate what we love, and then that's how you get other people. It's through your enthusiasm. And when I go to revival houses in the American Cinematheque, you go to the Arrow or the Egyptian, young people are in there and they're checking the stuff out. And they're checking stuff out that they're learning about because other people are telling them about it, either taking them to it, or they see it on Letterboxd, or they watch a movie and they say, oh, that's actually was influenced by the thing you like now in anime and manga, Star Wars. That was something that was, oh, you should, that's how my dad got me to go to see, Hidden Fortress. He's like, well, it's Star Wars. I'm like, what? and I'm reading subtitles in a Japanese, samurai film, and I'm like, oh, it is Star Wars. Oh, I see. And it starts a conversation. And I think also what's nice is the more we're doing that in groups together communally, I think it's good. I think everybody wants that, needs that, and especially younger generation doesn't take that for granted. And so, these are all ways to do it. So anyway, I'm going on and on.
Jon, I got to ask, this is incredible, and everything looks so beautiful, but I'm curious what it is about, I know you can't spoil anything, what is about this story in Mandalorian and Grogu that you're like, this one needs to be seen on a big screen, you need to put this in theaters, and not just on this.
I think it's it's sort of a back and forth conversation. It's like, on the one hand, here's the paint set you have. What could you do with it? So part of it is being inspired by what you have available to you and taking the limitations away from what it was. But it's also a new challenge. We haven't had this challenge since the beginning of season 1, where people weren't seeing Star Wars on Disney Plus. It was, there were films in the movie theater. How do you engage? How do you connect with the audience in a way that's meaningful, but also something we're excited about? What do we want to do? Because when we're having fun, that's, to me, if we're digging what we're doing, when we're digging what we're doing, it tends to be contagious, right? So not always, as they say, if that were the truth, then Cannonball Run would be the highest grossing movie of all time. If how much fun you had making a film. If now I'm even old, I don't know if people know what that is. That joke was funny 20 years ago.
All right, so I don't know if anybody knows what Cannonball Run is, but I do, because my husband watches it all the time and talks about Cannonball Run. But another Gen X joke there from Jon.
Did anybody laugh except for you?
I was the only one. I think he realized, he was like, I got blank faces on this one. But
I'm sure Richard would have understood as well.
There's something about being very self-aware of what you're saying and what's happening in the moment as you say it. That is a sign of higher thinking. So he immediately caught on that there was only one other person that got that reference of Cannonball Run at that moment. And if you got that reference, yay, you're probably as old as me. Anyway, that's why I felt it was good to share. That was, one of the moments, just to share that it was cute from him.
So much has been done in Star Wars, but Star Wars is also a function of, I think one of the big unlocks was that Star Wars is, although it's a genre, it's usually a reflection of another genre, right? It's usually a lens. Yeah. And so we really embrace George wanted to get the rights to Flash Gordon when he started. And there was a pulpy thing that he was drawn to, not just in the Star Wars films, but in Raiders. There's something, I think, from probably growing up watching that stuff that drew him in. And so, you know, that was a big unlock for us of like art, fantasy art that we really were leaning into especially because the storyline for The Mandalorian, Man with No Name, the Leone, Kurosawa. But now with Baby Yoda, it starts to feel like, oh no, he's fighting, he's getting bounties for the posters on the post office wall, not hunting down people just for, he has a code that he's living by, as we learned it next door in there when he talked at the end of the third season, that now I have to be more responsible. He's a parent, and he's responsible for someone else, and I think he's arcing over the course of it all. And so when now somebody who might not have watched the show might think he's the same guy, but if you've watched the show, you see that he's grown. And that's a lot what Star Wars was about too, is about family and about growth. And then, but you need the fun, exciting backdrop, and that backdrop was inspired by the Flash Gordon space opera, pulp storytelling. And also we had the scale to do it now. We couldn't do that type of stuff. You couldn't have something with there's the head of the creature that we use he's CG in the movie, but we needed interactivity. And so that's, to have that and to build on a stage that was, tall enough for IMAX, big enough to fill with, so that we could go underwater.
As I noted at the beginning, we left some of the interview out because he was referencing things in the room, but I felt like this part I wanted to get to. And what he's speaking to at that moment is the head of the white snake that we see Din face off against in the Mando and Grogu trailer. So just the head is like up high in this room. I think that's like the reference point of what it's going to be for the Mando, like how big it is. And one of the TV spots, we finally get to see kind of the scope of how big that snake is now, sort of on the widescreen. So that was kind of cool. And then this is just all of this talking so far is him just talking,
right?
So, and we've cut pieces out, but this is just him excitedly kind of talking to us. So finally someone got to ask him a question, and they asked about his inspirations, and we'll let him speak to that.
I think it comes through. Yeah. There's lots of stuff as I look now, because remember, I'm watching the movie over and over and over again, so I'm like, that kind of, there's definitely things that have cinematic, more like rather than the whole film, it's almost more like a little little moments that are moments that echo things from other films. You'll see there's clearly we're thinking about, there's a sequence, you'll see that we're thinking about French Connection for sure as we're looking at the stuff, you know what I mean, of a certain chase. And then there's also, George was always, because George would cut with footage from old war movies, right, because it was before previs, so he'd be using Battle of Britain footage, and we still did that technique too, to do that, which is also what's nice about the limitations of not being able to render anything from the beginning, to cut with it and see how it feels, but then you're also inheriting a certain cinematic tradition when you're kit bashing not just the costumes, the cockpits, right, the weapons, but you're kit bashing cinema a little bit, but yet keeping it original and making it its own thing. And that's part of what Star Wars is drawing upon cinematic inspiration. So yeah, we do talk about things, or a shot, or let's light the scene like this. But by the time it gets through, it doesn't feel like a pastiche or an homage, because it's underneath it, but it became a guiding like lighthouse for us creatively to say it should feel like this. Anyway.
Okay, so I love that phrase he uses, kit bashing cinema. I mean, that's what postmodernism is. When I was in film school at USC, it's like, yeah, you use things that have come before in a new way. You combine these things to make something different, but it's all stuff you've seen before. Postmodernism, kit bashing. I love it. It's so great.
Yeah, he used that term a couple times, that kit bashing term at different points, when he was pointing at props and things like that. So, it's just like, take what you need. And also talking about things that they made on the set itself. Like you remember when Qui-Gon Jinn and they pull out their little talky things.
Okay.
And it's like a Bic razor or something, right?
Oh, yeah, the comm unit
In the
thing?
prequel trilogy.
Okay.
Yeah, the little communication device is like a Bic razor
Oh,
that they
yeah.
sort of like painted it to make it look metal. But if you were a lady, you knew what it was. I shaved my legs with one of those. They just took the razor off and made it into a
Now that you say
little
that, now I
communication
totally can
device.
see that. Yeah, those
Yeah,
like
you can see it,
kind
right?
of flat, like little rectangular rounded things. Yeah.
They put like one little dib or dob knob on it to
Yeah.
make it look like it really wasn't.
Agreeably.
Yeah. See, you know exactly. And I actually think as he was talking about it, there were, you know, some of the discussion around the sequel trilogy was that instead of it being like an idea of this thing, they were, because he specifically says not pastiches, right? Like you bring something in and you regurgitate it. But sometimes some of the things in the sequel trilogy felt like pastiches, like whole cloth reinventions, whereas John's talking about we're just taking ideas and, you know, you regurgitate them and it shouldn't feel like a whole thing.
Right.
But, you know, in him saying that he says French Connection, which is ironic because I think the French Connection is referenced in Maul Shadow Lord as well in these two episodes. Is the scene, the train scene is kind of vibing from that. So sometimes I think more than one it's more that, right? If you go, I think he said, I want it to feel like this. Like if you tell somebody you want it to feel like this,
yes.
But he doesn't want it to feel wholly like that. It's just, if I were to give you an idea and cut something together, it'd be like, that's kind of what you want it to be.
That makes sense. It's almost like when you edit a scene to temp track music and you give it to the composer and say, okay, I want it to feel like this. And then, so the composer has an idea.
And that's where George Lucas, right, when he started working with Marshall Lucas, he was editing together, you know,
footage from fighter pilots, right? Yes,
yeah, exactly. And that's how you ended up with this kind of incredible sequence in the Death Star in the first movie. I think everybody was kind of like, "Whoa, what's happening?" When you first saw Star Wars, you're like, "What is this?" And by today's standards, it looks pretty tame, and and by Star Wars standards, it looks pretty tame at this point. But at that point, it was like, wow, whoa, this is like in space. But really, he was just doing what he had been doing for, you know, and how they had put together footage to make the wars seem like, oh, we're fighting. Oh, war wasn't bad. We just had these little dogfights.
Exactly.
So, yeah. So I think, I mean, my whole takeaway from the event was, I think it was just John starting the ball to roll in Disney of just where they were coming from, and to say, we welcome new people, but to say, hey, we have a lot of things that if you're a fan, you're going to like things if they're a little, you know, he said he wanted to leave nuggets. And I know on the one poster that they put out, there's,
right.
What is it called? A rig? It was a toy.
Yes,
that never got put into anything. But they're ships that are chasing, I think, the Razor Crest.
Okay. Yeah. In fact, we were digging through the garage just yesterday, and Richard pulled out that toy. He's like, "Look, I have it."
He has it.
He does.
Of course, he does.
Yes. He has it. I was like, wow,
people
that's
found
neat.
that. So and then since then, now we have the final trailer out.
Yes.
Which I saw and I was like, oh, I've seen a lot of those scenes again. So, you know, if it's anything in the snow, that's in the beginning. So.
Got it. Anything in the snow, some stuff with Zeb, I suppose. Yeah. But okay. So here, this might be a spoiler for some people. So maybe fast forward a minute. I'm going to ask you a question, Tricia. I don't mind knowing the answer. So in that opening footage, did we see the snake?
No.
Okay. I wouldn't think so, just based on our speculations, but okay. Just wondering.
I think this, I mean, just, you know, from what we see and kind of what this trailer implies and what the other things we've seen, I feel like the implication is that we're going to see Din and Grogu together, and then we're going to see them have to be the Mandalorian and Grogu separately and go through an arc. I mean, Jon Favreau mentions that they're, you know, the character has to go through an arc in a movie. He knows that in a series you have more time to move people, but in a movie he knows that he has to move a character, and he has to move both of those titular characters, right? He can't just move one. Now that he's named the Mandalorian and Grogu, they both have to have journeys in the story. So, and I think they're going to be separated, and then I think they're going to come back together.
Nice. And in this trailer, so did you want to go through this?
Yeah, just through a couple things. Yeah.
Okay. So speaking to that, I'll just skip ahead. In part of the trailer, Din says the old protect the young, and then the young protect the old. Now, this is towards the end of the trailer. It got me all choked up. I was like, oh, just knowing, I mean, my parents are aging a little, and, I'm starting to see that other side of it, after being protected by them as a young child. So it's very, I don't know. I got all emotional when I heard that.
I think he was exactly speaking to that.
Yes.
Though. I think that line from where he is in his life is exactly speaking to that. I mean, you're just on the backside of, you're millennial to Gen X, right?
Right.
But I think he is speaking to his generation with that line, and he's also speaking to new fans as well, but I think that one is there for us.
The Jon Favreau, yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
that's why that got
line.
Me all choked up. Yeah.
Well,
what did you want to bring? Go ahead.
Well, one thing's the music, right?
Yeah,
that they go back to OT music in the beginning of this trailer again, which they did in the first one.
We've all heard stories of the Mandalorian bounty hunter and a child.
I only hunt Imperial war criminals. I'll take out every bad guy in your deck of cards.
This isn't about revenge. It's about preventing another war.
I think it was interesting to have Colonel Ward, who's Sigourney Weaver's character, kind of narrate the beginning of the trailer, where she says, we've all heard stories of the Mandalorian bounty hunter and a child. And
which
I don't
is
think
different,
that's from the movie.
Which is different from season 1 of The Mandalorian, when they've all heard stories of just the Mandalorian. So
exactly.
Now the child has gotten around.
He's part of the legend now as well.
Yeah.
So, yeah. And I mean, we're going to see, Din says, I only hunt Imperial war criminals.
Right.
I'll take out every bad guy in your deck of cards.
Mm-hmm.
But they show a lot of characters that aren't the bad guys in what he says, Imperial warlords, right? In that, as he's saying that, they show imps and they show Hutt twins and they show Embo. Well, those aren't
Imperial warlords.
So he obviously has something that he wants to do in his life, which is hunt Imperial war criminals. And in the journey of that, this movie, he's going to run across gangsters and bounty hunters that don't have his code. We know Embo is a bounty hunter who is very feared. And they're calling in the best to deal with the best, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Wow. Let's see.
So, and I do like too that we go back to Colonel Ward, and this isn't new, but this line of, this isn't about revenge, it's about preventing another war.
Right.
Like, she has a code that she's operating on too.
Mm-hmm. And that seems to be a little trajectory of what to expect from the plot, I suppose. Preventing a war is what I guess Mando's overall trying to do. But we'll see. I'm sure in his character journey, he's going to get a lot more deep.
Yeah. And then it comes, we get to see the horrible baby, the bad baby in the trailer, which just cracks me up. When they finally get to good baby at some point. So,
yes, towards the end.
He gets to work together with them. But I kind of feel like the Anzellans, I think there's 4 of them, but they feel very much like 3 men and a baby.
There are 4 Anzellans, yes. Oh my gosh.
So, what she says, Ward, the voiceover for the Din and Grogu battle on the Snow Planet, which, is from the opening scene. She says, what happens when you're not there to protect him?
Right.
So she's asking that question. And then we see Embo and the dog, and then Zellin screaming, and Din in the forest saying, I'll be right behind you. Which we know that's where I very much get the implication of
they're going to be separated.
Yeah, not right behind you.
Okay.
And yeah. So, but that Anzellan ship, that's the one that was in the prop tour.
Yeah, and it's right
that we see.
there on the in the screen here. That's exciting. Oh, that's a horrible baby. I gotta take a moment for that. I love it. Oh my god. Wow.
And then we get to, I think, Din's moment of growth where you hear someone saying Mandalorian, you will suffer, and his helmet is being removed. We know that that's like, not supposed to happen. That's
bad
not
baby, bad Mando.
Yeah, exactly. And then we see a wide shot of Din before the white snake that snaps and goes into the water. And then we see that it is the Hutt twin saying to him, then it will be his turn to suffer, is the unsaid, right?
Right, which it's interesting. They keep on intercutting those scenes between the snake and the two Hutt twins. So yeah, you didn't know who was speaking until that moment. But yeah, there's definitely, because it looks like the snake actually, let's see, actually eats Mando, which is another rebirth scene, right? Whenever you're eaten in the belly of the beast, right? That's a full Joseph Campbell hero cycle moment. I'm sure
I think John knows it's co-written by John and Dave. I think they know they're Campbell, so they'll be good.
Yeah, and then you get that shot again of the Anzellans with Grogu on some kind of little speeder.
Good baby.
Yeah, that's right. Then it'll be his turn.
Good job, baby. I think it's just funny that they call him baby the whole time because
he's much older than them.
Well, yeah, that too, which that would be one thing I would love to just ask John, is be like, okay, how did you work this? Like when he's 50, he's a 6-month-old, whatever, however, he had to work some type of logic into that.
Oh yeah. It's a, not a logarithmic scale. It's just a ratio, I suppose, of growth.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cause we got to go to 900 or 1,000 years old. Idea.
Wow.
Live for a long time.
And then you get this wrestling match again. So the gladiator ring, right? Where Din is fighting all the big mechs. Did you see some of those mechs? Did you say?
That's what I'm supposing is that Jon Favreau mentions that one of the something is stop motion.
Yes.
And the mech droids were maquettes. And they look like it could possibly be that they were what was stop motioned.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense, actually. And it harkens back to the original trilogy because you have these giant creatures fighting on the Dejeric board. Is that what that's called? And that was a stop motion scene. So why not make it giant in real life, because this is a movie? I can see Jon Favreau totally thinking that. Oh, and then the trailer ends with Din saying, "This is the way."
Yeah. So what is the way? We're going to find out for sure.
The way is that the old protect the young and the young protect the old. There you go.
I like it. Are you excited?
Oh, absolutely. This trailer, out of all of them, like, I feel like the other trailers I was more analyzing. This one got me pumped. Like, I am ready for this film. And it got me more emotional than the other trailers too.
Good luck. You're gonna need it.
I did want to mention, now that we've kind of fleshed out of this the trailer and we're getting ready for the Mandalorian and Grogu, that Favreau did speak to SFX magazine and via Games Radar. I just thought this was kind of interesting because people have wondered like about the season 4 of the Mandalorian and about the movie and how they kind of work together. And so he did get to answer a question. So he was talking about the season 4. It would have heavily linked to Ahsoka season 2. You can't just take those scripts and turn them into a movie. Favreau said of the shifting ideas when they hit pause on season 4 ideas to focus on the film. there were a lot of characters. It assumed you'd watch the whole show, and it was teeing up what was happening moving into the second season of Ahsoka. It was about Grand Admiral Thrawn and following the larger storyline of this era of the Star Wars timeline. And this is a completely different medium, the filmmaker continued. So I had to start from scratch, essentially. There were certain things I wanted to pursue, like the idea of Grogu being the Mandalorian's apprentice. As long as you understand the archetypes of this hardened warrior with their vulnerable young apprentice, you'll know these characters well, even if you've never seen the show. But there's still a lot of Star Wars in there. You're going to see where things are going in the wider universe, but that doesn't diminish from the experience of watching it as a standalone film.
Okay. Now, this being said, I am very glad that they didn't try to make that season 4 into a movie. That's what they did with Moana 2. They had like a whole Moana series. They shoved all these characters into a film. You didn't like feel like you got to know any of them, and it didn't work. So I'm glad that that's the stance that Favreau has taken.
Yeah, I mean, it's understanding your medium and what you can do with it. And I actually just watched Moana 2 recently, and it's exactly that. Like, all those little side characters probably would have been introduced in an episode of their own, and then they would have made more sense, but they were sort of just like, okay, all of a sudden the shipbuilder and the guy who knows all the things about their history, these random people are like stuck in on his crew, but you don't know any of them. And so I think that's like understanding. And it's interesting too, because like Zeb being in The Mandalorian, like that's like a nod to, I think, animation fans. But I think as far as what the character needs to be, he doesn't need to be anything for his role. You just see him in the archetype, right? He's some type of New Republic guy. He likes to wear his X-Wing.
He looks
cockpit,
cool.
And he's a creature and he's fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's a creature and he's fun. I love that. Yeah, exactly.
So I think that in that regard, I like that quote, because it to me said he really understood the medium that he was working in. And even though he's done this like TV show, he understands that in a movie, I have to do something completely different, which, I mean, he's the guy who kicked off Marvel, right? Yeah. He's the guy who took he will take swings. I'll give him that. Like, he will take swings. And I think even like he was the one who wanted to do this Baby Yoda creature. And even Dave Filoni was like, what? And, but it was the right swing, right? Mm-hmm. For Star Wars. So I think he understands what he needs to do, which is be very accessible with a story and not require that you need to see 3 seasons of The Mandalorian to understand the story that you're going to go see in a movie theater.
Exactly. And having seen Jon Favreau at various Marvel press conferences, along with Kevin Feige, one of the things they always spoke to was the fact that they try to create a good movie first. Just a fun, good movie that people will enjoy, and then they see how it connects to the larger universe. But like their overall goal is to create a fun movie-going experience. So I can see that same thing happening in these threads that we're hearing Jon Favreau talk about in regards to Mandalorian and Grogu.
Yeah, I mean, the basic gist I got was like when he said, if we're having fun, it should be contagious, and then you'll have fun when you watch the movie. So that's kind of, I'm looking for a romp, but I don't think it's going to be light. Like, there are things that you can tell, like with the snake and with Din getting his helmet off, that there's some danger, and that it's not all fun and games, that there are things that are going to happen.
Which is good. You have to have stakes.
Yeah.
But you also have to have funny.
And it's funny too, because I don't know if you've seen like all the little shorts that they've done now. They're releasing them. So Pedro Pascal did an interview with Grogu on the Star Wars. It was just on like the Star Wars feed. But he was like, they're like asking questions and they have to point at one or another. So the puppet, the Grogu puppet could answer the questions too. But Pedro is so good at like vibing with the puppet. in those, like making it, because he essentially has to sell the whole interview. The puppet just has to point, and he has to vibe off the puppet, and he was so good at it. I'm like, okay, well, that's why he's making the money. But
I love it.
One thing I will note, so when you see the opening scene, and then they do it like kind of old school, where they do the actors as they come into the, so back in the old days you'd get a scene and then they might introduce who the actors are. It's Pedro gets first billing, then Jeremy Allen White, who voices Rod the Hutt, the second billing, and then it's Brendan Wayne and Lateef Crowder are also billed under.
That's great.
So they are, and I was kind of curious to see how that would get played out, but it's like they have in the series that they are getting billing
credit,
on the movie,
right? Because they are the stand-in for Mandalorian. They are,
and then it was like Steve Blum was paired with, they started doing two names.
That's nice.
He was in there, so
yeah,
I think it was Jeremy, Brendan Wayne, Lateef Crowder, then I think was Sigourney Weaver, getting that billing.
Yes.
And then it was like Steve Blum and somebody, and the other names I can't say that I really recognized. I know.
Right. But the creature performers.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. That's great. Wow.
Yeah.
Awesome.
So,
well, way to go on the credit. Cool.
We're excited.
Yeah.
I'm excited.
Wow.
I'm excited. It's been 7 years. It's going to be almost 7 years. We have since we've seen Star Wars in a movie theater. It's crazy.
That is so crazy.
Yeah.
I count it lucky we got to go to a screening of Mandalorian season 3 in the theater. And that was, oh my gosh, that was so cool seeing that on screen. So to see a film actually made for the theater, filmed in IMAX, no less, at least part of it, I'm excited. All right. So is it time to plug some stuff? Yes, it is. So speaking of seeing Mandalorian in the theater, so Skywalking Through Neverland, we are lining up with liningup.net, and the line will be May 19th through 21st in the forecourt of the TCL Chinese Theater IMAX. Now, tickets are now sold out through the line. You might still be able to get tickets for the 5:15 show, which is the one we're seeing on May 21st. But you can still come down and participate in the events. We will still be having raffle tickets for charity fundraisers. You can even donate online, and we'll put that link in our show notes because we have over 7,000 raised, but our goal is 25,000. Not sure if we'll quite hit that, but anywhere close to like 10,000, I think is a really good, I think that's definitely doable for the line. So if anyone would like to donate, that link will be in our show notes.
Woo!
Yeah.
And let's see, keep checking our socials for more pics and videos from the set and prop tour, because they will keep coming all the way up until the movie. I know a lot of people went with I'm just going to put out everything at once. And I'm like, slow and steady wins the game. So you'll get to see lots of more things coming up from that. And also on Hyperspace Theories, we'll be recapping Maul Shadow Lord episode 1 through 6. And that'll be coming out next week as well. And if you want to listen to check back, we will, Fangirls Going Rogue, we'll talk about the season when it's over. We're going to do kind of more of a whole comprehensive, excited discussion because this was a short season.
It was. Yeah, it comes out two a week. That's very short.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. And also Skywalking Through Neverland is doing our mid-season review of Maul Shadow Lord as well. Our breakdown on episode 554. That will be coming out this week. So you'll have both of those to listen to. So we might not be covering it here right now, but you can hear our other podcasts do that.
Absolutely.
Okay, well, that wraps up this episode of Fangirls Going Rogue. So in between episodes, you can find us at fangirlsgoingrogue.com and on all socials at FG Going Rogue. Tricia is at Fangirl Cantina. And will you be sharing on both at FG Going Rogue and Fangirl Cantina? Okay.
Yep.
All your prop and set stuff. I am at Jedi Tink.
And you can go email us, contact@fangirlsgoingrogue.com.
And then on Facebook, you can find us, Fangirls Going Rogue. Search that, You can click to join the Facebook group and also the Facebook page, but then there's questions that pop up for the Facebook group, so you just make sure you answer them, and then we can let you in.
And please go to Apple Podcasts or wherever you listen to podcasts and leave a positive 5-star review. We need your reviews so more people can find us.
So until next time, da-da-da-da-da, yub.
Yub.
This site is not affiliated in any way with Lucasfilm Limited LLC, the Walt Disney Company, or any of their affiliates or subsidiaries.
Yep, yep.